Greetings, gentlemen. Welcome back. So I was scrolling Reddit the other day in between refunding Helldivers 2 and mentally preparing to break the LFG to run a Pantheon when I came across something extremely alarming. You see, I saw a weapon name that I didn't recognize, at least until I kept reading the title, but as a chronically online Destiny 2 addict who's never felt the warm touch of grass before, I was deeply unsettled not to know the name of a weapon in the game I've played every single day for the past 7 years, and no less an exotic, the supposed apex of Destiny weaponry. But really, the more I kept looking, the more I realized there were many more guns and exotics that I just completely forgot were in the game. Maybe because they're bad, outdated, or worse, forbidden, and it was enough to get my lazy ass back to Google Docs and make a script for this very video you're currently watching. So, and in hopefully less time it takes Rick Kakis to finish his intro, here's a few exotics that I just forgot were in the game. Let's start things off with the very weapon that willed this video into existence, the Prospector. The Prospector is a heavy arc grenade launcher with the exotic perk Excavation. It's essentially the three-way love child of chain reactions, sticky grenades, and incandescent. And it also has full auto trigger system, but it's about as relevant as techno music in the Stone Age, so let's just ignore it. It also has a stupidly high fire rate for a grenade launcher. The exotic perk states, hold to fire grenades, release to detonate all live grenades simultaneously. Grenades stick to surfaces and set targets on fire. Defeating targets creates arc explosions. Now, all in all, that sounds pretty good, and that's because it is. In theory, this weapon has ridiculously high burst DPS and great ad-clear potential. The only real issue with Prospector is that it's a heavy arc grenade launcher that isn't particularly good at doing both of these jobs, at least as much as other grenade launchers, both in the same slot and special. Prospector's grenades explode immediately upon contact with literally anything that is not a world polygon. So you can't stick 18 grenades to your target and watch them go the way of a certain batch of plutonium-239 on July 16, 1945. On top of that, forget about even sticking anything above 8 grenades to anything, even world polygons, because the fuse on the nades is only long enough for one mag before they go boom. To make Prospector relevant again, I would swap chain reaction for bait and switch, and make it so that grenades don't explode on impact with enemies and instead stick. I'd also have them have infinite fuse for as long as the trigger is held, as full auto trigger system incentivizes you to do. I'd also make it so that you could dump all the reserve nades in one mag instead of having to reload. I mean, would it be busted? Absolutely. Do I care? No. Make this game fun, not balanced. If I can fling like 28 nades at my enemy at a raid boss and watch it simply disappear into dust, I would absolutely love that. Next up is Cerberus +1. Bungie, what the fuck is this? Cerberus +1 is what happens when you let a Bavarian man work on your 2001 Toyota Camry in exchange for a 6-pack of beer and a kiss on the cheek. In other words, it's an abomination. Its exotic perk essentially turns it from an auto rifle to an auto shotgun. Sounds splendid, doesn't it? But you're wrong, because in reality, it still remains and retains the damage profile of a precision frame auto rifle, but splits your damage across 4 numbers, making it ass at dealing with anything that you cannot hit all these 4 shots on, also known as anything not standing directly at the end of your barrels. There are no words to describe how shit this weapon is anywhere but the Cosmodrome. If you run this past Guardian rank 3, you are either trying it out because you just got it, only to cast it into the vault where it belongs, or you have Pavloved yourself into thinking it's a good weapon. Either way, you'll be taking 7 to 8 business days to kill a Dreg, and are required to write up a will if you want to shoot at anything above an orange bar. It also has a secondary perk, which is just straight up lies. It's Vanguard Disinformation, and it does nothing. If you want to put Nebulous perk on a gun, Bungie, you should have just put Zen Moment on this thing and left it at that. Yes, Cerberus has a catalyst that solves most of the issues I've been highlighting, but quite honestly, it takes 700 kills to get, and I have neither the interest nor the will to put myself through 700 kills with that thing. There is no fixing Cerberus. Put it in the bin, where it belongs, and never touch it again. Next is Borealis. I quite like Borealis. I don't know why I forgot about it. It looks cool, has a cool perk in the form of Ionic Return, and is all around a pretty good sniper rifle. I think the problem with Borealis is that it's a relic of a bygone era. Its exotic perk, the Fundamentals, is shared with another Year 1 exotic in the form of Hardlight. This perk essentially lets you choose the element of the gun by pressing the reload key, which was very useful back when match game was a thing that existed, but since that's gone the way of my Black Armory arsenal past Beyond Light, there's really isn't a reason to match shield elements in endgame PvE anymore. I mean, just nuke them, they just have a 50% damage resist. Further, it's a secondary perk, Ionic Return. It's a nightmare to activate for an admittedly really good 40-ish% damage increase. Watch this footage of me trying to get a shield break with a matching element to activate it. I couldn't find a single damn enemy with a shield. Therein lies the issue with Borealis. It's not good enough to bring into endgame PvE because it doesn't have the damage and its ammo economy is pretty ass, where it would thrive off constant shielded enemies, but the places where it's good, low to mid difficulty content, shields just barely exist. They exist on wizards and captains and minotaurs, so you can't proc its damage perk. Its ammo economy, once again, is pretty ass, and switching elements puts you at risk in endgame PvE, at risk of a grenade, risk of an ad coming up on you and taking half your health off of a single hit. I think Borealis, out of any weapon we'll be seeing today, needs the least amount of changes. Increase its reserves, slightly buff the damage on criticals, and make Ionic Return proc on shield breaks or headshot kills. Otherwise, I'd leave it the same. Now that I've rediscovered it, I really like Borealis, and I hope it sees its time to shine in the future. It's a really cool weapon, with some really cool ornaments, and I know it sees quite a lot of use in PvP. I just wish that PvE-wise it was slightly stronger. Next, and fourth on the list, is Bad Juju. There's nothing really interesting about Bad Juju. It's a pulse rifle, which already kind of sucks in the current sandbox. I mean, not you, Graviton Lance, you're an honorary scout rifle. Its perks is basically just Rampage with 2 more stacks, and the super energy it gives back, although good, pales in comparison to a single big orb of light. Yes, it's kind of a combination of Thresh and Rampage, and on top of that, it reloads the magazine every time you get a kill. But it's just not enough to make it feel exotic. It also has our old relic of the past full auto trigger system on it, which, as discussed previously, is about as relevant as techno music in the Stone Age. And its model, the 3D model that you see in the game, is just a regular blue pulse rifle from Destiny 1. For a gun that kinda wants to end all existence, it's a shame you get beaten in design by your Borderlands 3 Easter egg, Bad Juju. Look at Big Brother Graviton and relish in its splendor. What are you in the face of its glory? Nothing. Go back to the vault and come back when you get an exotic perk. Finally, we have the... You know, the gun. The gun? Basically, I was on Discord call with a friend of mine when writing this bit, and we just could not remember the name of this gun for a solid 10 minutes, and had to go looking on light.gg. This is how forgettable this gun is, despite its age. Deterministic Chaos is a heavy machine gun that's released with Lightfall, and it landed with a thud greater than the one my spacebar produces after having oiled the switches. It's about as relevant as Morbius in 2024. My buddy had this to say about it. It is such an irrelevant piece of shit, no one gives a damn. Its perk states that every 4th bullet suppresses, and every 8th applies volatile. It means it sounds pretty useful in concept, until you remember that there's pretty much an infinite amount of other things that apply these verbs in the game. On top of this, this gun is designed to keep the trigger held down, and is clearly meant as a support weapon during a DPS rotation, yet it has 48 bullets in the mag. It also shoots about as fast as Bungie releases content, making it have a DPS worse than a primary. In the footage you're seeing in the background, I had to resort to a Gerfalcon build to make it do literally anything at all, since my 2 earlier runs, I saw the special round a grand total of 2 times on the final servitor boss, and not a single time during ad clear. Deterministic Chaos suffers from needing to be constantly held down on the trigger to make the perks work, but it's also a machine gun, an archetype of weapon meant for ad clearing, meaning you will never ever keep the trigger held down for more than a shot or two to take out a red bar, and hence you will never see that 4th shot, much less the 8th. I would just remove the trigger requirement, make it a tally up, make it so that the special bullets fire at a multiples of 4 interval within the mag. Also, increase the mag size and fire rate. It'll still be irrelevant. There's no really fixing that thing. It's ugly, it takes up half of your screen when you run. There's so many better options, especially Void machine guns, which is stupidly competitive of an archetype. It'll still be irrelevant. But at least it won't suck ass so much that players forget about it less than a year after its initial release. Anyway guys, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this sort of content, I tried to be slightly more dramatic, if you will. If you like this sort of content, let me know in the comments. If you have any other weapons that you want me to have a look at, same thing, leave it in the comments. And if you like this video, subscribe, it also helps. Thank you so much, and goodbye.